Sometimes love isn't enough. As an adoptive mom, people would often say this to me, as if to imply I couldn't love my son enough to change behaviors or heal his trauma, so I should probably just give up. At least that's how I took those four powerful words, which had buried themselves deeply in my mind, leading me to doubt my ability to parent my child. Sometimes love isn't enough. That is the truth. Oftentimes, you need love and powerful, personalized tools to raise a child who's experienced trauma and disrupted attachment, or a child who you're struggling to connect with. I am on a mission to help parents raising kids with a tricky past to show up with unconditional love and practical tools to lovingly manage even the most challenging of times. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Plus, if you like what you hear, I'd love for you to leave a review. Now let's get to the good stuff. Welcome back to another episode of Sometimes Love Isn't Enough. So for today's episode, I want to talk about a concept called lovability. It seems like such an easy concept until we really start digging deep into what in the world does that mean? I know that as a human, we have to feel lovable. When we don't feel lovable, it creates all kinds of issues in our life. When we don't feel lovable, it creates issues in our relationship. It creates issues in our sense of self-worth. When we don't feel lovable, we cannot possibly reach our fullest potential. And in fact, oftentimes when we don't feel lovable, we are desperately engaging in activities to attempt to create a sense of lovability within us. Several years ago, one of my coaches that I work with, she had done this beautiful training on relationships and what it really means to love someone in a relationship. And there's this concept that she shared that it just has stuck with me to this day still. But, our relationship with another person is just our thoughts and feelings about them. That other person in the relationship, and I know that this probably goes against the grain of everything that you know about relationships. It certainly goes against the grain of marriage therapy, right? That oftentimes in therapy, the expectation is that both people change, both people make a compromise. But the truth is that each of us individually has the power, the sole power in a relationship. I know this to be true because we can take any relationship in our life. You can take the person that you're the closest with, somebody who you love so incredibly much. Maybe it's your significant other, for example, and you can love them so, so fully. And say, for example, that you hear that they did something awful. Perhaps they violated your trust, or you hear that they engaged in some kind of just behavior that goes against your expectations, your morals. Your view of them, your feelings about them, your relationship with them can drastically change just because of a new thought. You could end up ending a relationship or despising or resenting the other person. And it's possible that they never actually did anything. You just heard a story or created a thought about something that you thought happened. When we look at it this way, I mean, this happens in media all the time, right? We think about there are people in actors or musicians or people that we have never met that we have very strong feelings about, people that we light up when we see them on the screen or hear their voice. We have a very strong relationship with them, and they don't even know who we are. So, this same concept, though, applies to every single relationship that we have, that our thoughts and feelings create our relationship, and that other person doesn't have to do a thing. The problem is that as humans, we put expectations on the people in our life. We put expectations on our kids, on our spouse, on our boss, on our coworkers, on everybody that we interact with. We put expectations on them. We don't necessarily know it. Maybe we have some awareness of some of those expectations, but much of it is just how we've been trained or conditioned to think about people. So we have these expectations, and then our view of their lovability is impacted greatly by whether or not they meet our expectations. So, for example, we might expect our kids to return our love. We might expect our kids to respect us or to behave or to follow our rules or to do as we say, to not hurt others, to, I don't know, be kind, right? We have all of these expectations of our kids. And when our kids don't or can't meet our expectations, oftentimes we withhold our love. We might think that we're not, but look at it from your kids' point of view. When we're raising kids who have experienced trauma, they've experienced disrupted attachment, and our kids do something. Maybe they, I had brought up in a recent episode, maybe they break a family, um, I don't know, vase or lamp or something that we have. Maybe they break something and we show anger towards them. We withhold our love. We might be cold with them. We might become more stoic with them. When that behavior perhaps came from our child's insecure attachment, it might have come from a place where they were feeling scared or hurt. It might have been a total accident too. Maybe they were just being a kid and something broke, and we respond to them by withholding our love, by creating a space where our kids feel more insecure, where our kids feel that they might question their lovability. So, what in the world is lovability? Well, here's the interesting thing. Lovability actually has nothing to do with the other person. It only has to do with you and your thoughts and feelings about another person or pet or thing. We think about a good example is a dog, right? I don't know if you're a dog person or not, and I don't judge you either way, but to some people, a dog might be so lovable and they can't wait to snuggle on it and pet it and say hi to it and do all the things, and they might be totally accepting of anything, any actions that a dog does. That person will see that dog as totally lovable, where another person might be more apprehensive, might not like dogs, might not like being stepped on or licked or whatever is happening. Another person might view that exact same dog as being not lovable at all and might view that dog as a nuisance. The dog is just the dog. The dog isn't lovable or not. The lovability lies in the eyes of the beholder, right? It isn't about the dog at all. It's about the person's expectations, the person's desires. So when we apply the same logic to our kids aren't lovable or not. Our kids are just our kids who are trying to do their very best, even when it doesn't look like it. Our kids aren't lovable or not. That lovability lies in us and how we see our kids, how we respond to our kids, how we show love for our kids. I remember times when, oh man, I was just feeling so hopeless and lost with my son. I couldn't, I love him. That, that never changed, but I sure did not see him as being lovable for a long time, for many years. And I hope you appreciate how hard it is to say that out loud. I hope I'm in a safe space here, but I didn't see him as lovable. But there were people in his life who did. And I remember when, at first I was like, I don't get it. Like, how do they not see the behaviors? And then one day it dawned on me. I thought, oh, wow, I'm so glad that my son has people in his life that just see him as totally lovable because I'm really struggling with that right now. And I couldn't figure out how to make it happen. But boy, was I grateful that there were people in his life who could. So I'm going to keep this one today short and sweet because honestly, I'd like you to listen to it a couple of times because I know when we're struggling with our kids' behaviors, we lose sight of that lovability piece. And I know that our kids need to feel lovable. We all need to feel lovable. It is part of our human experience and it helps us to fulfill whatever our purpose is on this planet. We have to feel lovable so that we can show up for other people in relationships, so that we can show up for ourselves and fulfill our purpose, so that we can be the best versions of ourselves. And that feeling of lovability and with your kids starts with you. It starts with you figuring out, how am I going to help my kiddo feel more lovable today? What can I do or say to show them how lovable they are, even when their behaviors are at their worst? That's the trickiest time, right? It's easy to do when our kids are being well behaved. It's easy to show them how lovable they are when they're snuggly and cute and saying all the right things. But I want you to really figure out how to help your kids feel lovable, even when they mess up, even when they do something that frustrates the heck out of you. I want you to figure out how you're going to help your kids feel lovable in those moments because those are the moments when they actually need it. They probably don't need to feel so lovable when they're already feeling so lovable and showing it to you. They really need it in those times when they're scared and acting out because it is in those moments that they are showing you how unlovable they feel. So I'm going to leave you with that. Remember, change in your family starts with you. It doesn't start with your kids changing, it starts with you. So that's it for this episode. I hope you listen to it on repeat because I know that this one was really powerful. So take care and we will talk soon. I hope that you found this episode so incredibly powerful. Thank you for joining us for Sometimes Love Isn't Enough. If you resonated with what you heard here, please subscribe to this podcast and give us a review. You can also follow us on all the socials. Check the show notes for all the details about how to start tackling behaviors and creating a powerful, loving relationship with your child, a child who needs your love the most. And if your gut's telling you that it's time for a change now, book a free consult. I'd love to help you love unconditionally and show you that you have that power within you.